Sophia Husbands, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Oh, hello. It's so nice to be back.
Well, it's
Neil.
lovely to have you back. I'm just gonna change the banner because um, lovely that you are. You are not PDA parenting.
Yeah.
Just gonna get rid of that. And there's so many banners here, and I'm just trying to get rid of it. Hold on, there it is. Let's put your website on screen first of all.
Yeah, I realised I should have just put www.sophiaworld because the great news is I've updated it recently.
SophiaWorld.com.
.co.uk. I love to get the .com. I have been watching that for years, and this is more than 10 years. Yeah, that's it. That's me.
SophiaWorld.co.uk. Very
Yeah.
warm welcome back to the show. Tell us what you've been up to,
Yeah, so since I
apart from
last
revamping your website.
Yeah, but apart from me revamping my website to bring it up to date so people know what I've been up to, because it's all about what's happening in my world. So since I last, appeared on the show, I've been on holiday, which was really nice.
Where'd you go?
I went to Ibiza, and I also visited Formentera. I do love to island hop. Maybe because of my heritage. My parents come from the Caribbean and have this thing about wanting to go to different islands. But
Brilliant.
yes,
Did you? I have to ask. Did you give it large in Ibiza? Did you go for the dance music, or was it the other side of the island?
I'm more like the relaxed, mellow person, as you probably could see from my rings and the stones.
You've been to the hippie market, haven't you?
And I've got this really beautiful heart, which drew my attention.
Did you get that from the hippie market in Ibiza?
Yeah, close by to the hippie market, and I did attend it on my last day, and I did a bit of the tryst, like the 1950s, sort of like dance in my wedge heels. So that was interesting to know that I can not only go down, Neil, but I could get back up, because that's what happens when you get to a certain age. Can you get back up? When you go down, it's a question.
Yeah, you can get down with the kids, but not back up again.
Yeah, that's true. And what's been really exciting is I launched this AI powered tool which helps people with reinventions and life pivots. So that's one of the big juicy pieces.
Because this is what you're all about, isn't it? Life pivots and reinvention.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, just for the benefit of those listening,
yes.
What were you doing when you did your first pivot? And then at what point did the idea come, I can help other people pivot as well?
Yeah, so that's a good question to ask, Neil, because if I look back at my life, I'm not going to go back to year dot, before I became into this world.
I pivoted at 11 years old. I didn't go to the
playground. Yeah, or a bit like the story of the notorious ex-royal who talks about the soap commercial. I shouldn't be doing, but just trying to be humorous, everyone. Add a bit of humour into the afternoon. So what I noticed is with my career, I've done quite a few things. So I started off as an accounts professional years and years ago. And then I moved over to the Netherlands. So I used to live in Amsterdam, or what we sometimes nickname people who live over there, the Dam. So I lived very close to the red light district.
Yeah.
Then, you had an economic crash. Can you remember, Neil, in 2008?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I came back to the UK the year after that. I retrained, I did teaching. And then I went back to finance, and then I was teaching part-time. I got really good reviews. And then, if I continue, in my different career, I've done different sorts of life pivots. And I think this is like a point I want to mention to a lot of people is sometimes we sort of like take for granted the different things we've done or changes. It doesn't have to be career. It could be, for example, like maybe moving from the town you were brought up in to another part of the UK, or moving to another country. So I was on this course a couple of months.
So we should give ourselves credit for
we don't give ourselves credit. We don't.
For the life path that we've been on, because these are, I mean, from one point of view, every experience in life is useful, even if it teaches you what you don't want, but we can either learn from it, or if we look back at things we've done previously in our career, it does relate some way into into what we're doing now. One of my DJ students, she used to, because I
Yeah.
teach people to DJ, she used to play the drums, and of course,
Mhm.
sense of rhythm, which you need if you're DJing, of course.
Yes.
So that's just one little example, and but
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought it. You wouldn't have thought it at the time. It's only when you look back you think, oh, actually,
It's true.
that dovetailed quite nicely, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well,
That's the thing. We don't realise we do it. And some months ago, I was working with these people in AI, and then they were talking about, tools and things which we can use for every day, which is useful for ourselves. And then it kind of like came clear to me that in terms of the people I've worked with, so I've worked with different people from different walks of life. So I'll give you an example, Neil. So I worked with this lady who, I just give you one example. She's based in America. She's very good with art, making things beautiful. So I call her like a shabby chic type of lady, whereby, like when people throw away furniture, like how we see sofas on the street sometimes, which people might throw away. And you think, hold on a minute, this is still good wooden structure. I can use this. So she's very good at repurposing. So I helped her in the UA.
Oh, yeah, what do they call it? Upcycling.
Yeah, upcycling. Yeah, that's the thing. Have you noticed, Neil? We're always coming up with different terms all the time, for the same thing. It's like, for example, one time I was interviewed.
I know. It's all a bit poncy at times.
Yeah, it's true. Because I remember once, this might make you laugh, or some viewers. I remember once I was interviewed by Stylist magazine about the term cry-quitting. And I had to go and do research. I don't know if that happens to you. You have to Google cry-quitting. Yeah, even you have to what is this? So I Googled it. So really what cry-quitting means, it means that, for example, that you're in a job, maybe you don't like the job, or maybe you're frustrated or think you're not being noticed. And then you decide, I'm going to just do the bare minimum, just do what I need to do. And then that's it. That's it in a nutshell. And now it has the term cry-quitting. So the point I tried to make is, they always try to upcycle terms.
Well, they do. We upcycle words as well, don't we? And I'm sure that person's line manager wouldn't have used that exact term. Probably used something a little bit more robust, shall we say?
Yeah, no, not very clever. I'm sure they did it anonymously, or did some TikTok account where they're called roller skater girl, something like that. Not showing my face, but to go on, I was I was working with these AI developers, and then I thought, one of the challenges I find with people, and if we think about what's happening in the world today with the economic, political, I'm not going to go too much into political today, but we're globally, inflation, it's getting more expensive to live, and you get people who are thinking, okay, I want to make extra income, or maybe I want to downsize or live life differently. So this is where my Reinvention Navigator came into play. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool, especially since we've got all this technology, instead of people having to go to someone or maybe speak to a friend. Friends are really good, people who might know you because they can see where your sweet spot is, what your skills are. But what's so nice and wonderful, one of the benefits of AI, is that you can make things more personalized. So, for example, for listeners out there, I like to ask a question. How many of you, for example, if you're used to or comfortable using ChatGPT, have gone into ChatGPT to ask a question to do with a relationship? So it might be a case you might be dating on a dating app, or you had to fall it out with someone close to you, and you think,
I've heard people say Sophia, I've heard people say ChatGPT is as good as the therapist.
Yeah. I suppose it can be, and it's interesting. I was talking to a psychotherapist about this yesterday. I think it all comes down to having a clear boundaries, like it is with everything in life, knowing the distinction between reality and virtual reality. I think that's the key component there. It can be useful because sometimes we do want to talk things out loud, or say, for example, Neil, with your partner, not to intrude, you had some sort of disagreement. Of course, when you get to know someone for years, you know how each other works. You might have a different sorts of communication style, but wouldn't it be helpful sometimes to have that third person? You have to give away sensitive details. So this is where I always tell people in terms of using AI, is that you could desensitize information. So don't give specifics. You'd have to give your age, but you could just, put your scenario in and then ask questions. This is just a tip to be safe online, just one tip, in terms of information you feed into AI. But the premise is, going back to Reinvention Navigator, the tool I created, the purpose is that it asks certain questions. So I programmed it a certain way. So it's looking at things from a career coach, looking at factors to do with AI, because we can't ignore it, that some tools or way we do things is being replaced, by AI. It could be useful, but of course we do need human beings. So talking about my travel scenario recently, I arrived at the airport and I was thinking, and they had like this long queue. And I was thinking that I hope I get to the counter where it's the person, you'd have to go to the machine. And the amount of people I saw in front of me, he then had to call the person a human being. So the point
I think you've made a really good point. I think the virtual world is useful to use in the real world.
Yes.
But you won't want to live entirely in a virtual world. I mean, I've seen virtual girlfriends on Facebook advertising virtual girlfriends, and she always does what you ask her to do, and she never answers back. And I'm like, really, seriously, that is sad. Not that I downloaded it, of course, not even for research purposes. No, I didn't.
I like the way you said it. Quick safe, not for research purposes.
Research purposes only. And even she dumped me. No. I've actually signed up to an AI course. It's like they teach you sort of 15 minutes a day, because it was a very good little advert on Facebook. It said, AI is one of the most amazing things ever invented, and you're still asking how to write emails? Seriously? So I don't think we've even scratched the surface yet. And clearly this conversation bears that out, because you've got a whole tool on how to, just a minor detail of pivoting your whole life, But it can be really useful. It is like that third person, that friend, to hold the opinion, and be the sounding board is what I'm trying to say.
That's the purpose of my tool. And what I noticed, so I do a lot of research online. It's useful, and I think it's good, to get diverse opinions too as well. I think that's important, because otherwise we don't want to end up in our own echo chamber with yes men or the nodding dog, like that advert from years ago. I don't know if it still goes round.
Was it Cromwell Insurance? What was his name? The nodding dog.
The nodding dog. I always say that, the nodding dog. We don't want that at all. So that's why it's good to get diverse opinions. So when I've been designing this, I've been factoring that in. I've been looking at these YouTube social media gurus who say how to make £1,000 or how to get a sideline. Some are good. It's like with everything, you're always going to get good, mediocre, and bad. So I factor this in because I want people to get practical advice. I don't want wishy-washy type of advice where it's
and the thing is, there's so many so-called opportunities online. And I think in the internet world they call it bright shiny object syndrome. There's always the new bright shiny distractible shiny thing, and and you're right, some are good and some are an absolute waste of time. And knowing the difference, that's the real skill, isn't it? Because you're going to put your own time and energy into it. I mean, I remember in the early days of internet marketing, you'd hear these stories of people sitting there virtually ignoring their families, going through all these training courses and all these opportunities and promises, and years later, 6 years later, they've still made a big fat zero.
Yes, that's true. That's what I would say to people, is always do your due diligence. But it's interesting the point you mentioned there, Neil, about the psychology, because I've also built that into my app too as well, to have a bit of cognitive, because I've always been big in terms of well-being, mental health.
Fantastic.
And I'm fortunate, I do have contacts of people on my network who are qualified, professionals, so I could, go to them and ask them, what do you think about this if I'm not sure? So in terms of mental well-being, it's more to do with looking at people's mindset. So with one person who I tested, so you always have to test these new systems. And even with this tool which I created, even today, I was in the back end of it, doing tweaks. So I'll give you a scenario. So it's a lady, Natalie. Let's say her name's Natalie. she's based in the USA. She has health issues and she wants to come back to the UK because Natalie is originally from the UK. And then she was talking about how, you know, she has health issues, you know, limited funds. And then what I witnessed with my tool is it came up with suggestions of how it could, you know, how you could adapt your situation. Maybe, for example, you could do this, you know, share stories. And this character, Natalie, she's very good with art. So came up with a suggestion that maybe what you can do, you know, in the meantime, whilst you know, saving up that money to come back to UK, Natalie, maybe you could draw some sketches. And the key thing about this is art is something which is important to Natalie. You know, she's a very good artist, and what the AI, you know, my navigator was suggesting is that she can maybe draw some sketches, post it online, share it into stories, share a journey with people saying, look, I want to come back to UK. And I thought, isn't that a really clever, you know, type of, you know, answer?
Oh, that's very creative.
So do you see what I mean? So it's looking at the emotional side who as well, not come up with these plans, say do this. So that's what's, you know, one of the cool elements of the tool I've created is that it's adding a little bit of the emotional, you know, empathy, which I've added into this tool. Because think about it, when we go for a life change, like I give another scenario.
You've got to be gentle with yourself through it.
Yeah, you have to be gentle. You have to be kind to yourself when you're pivoting change.
Because without mental well-being, we have nothing. You know, that's got to be front and center, first and foremost. We talk a lot about, you know, mental health on this show.
Yes.
And, you know, preserving and having as much agency over our own mental health as we can is fantastically important.
Yes, I agree with you.
And to teach that we can. You know what I mean?
We can. And with mental well-being, it's like it's not like a trend or fad. Because I know now people are talking more about it in recent years. Because think about the term burnout. Remember maybe 20 years ago, was there a term like burnout?
It didn't even used to exist.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't, because people never used to think about it. But you are right. Mental health, mental well-being is so important. So something which we always have to continuously practice, even with myself. Because when I was on holiday, what I enjoyed about this one, I'm not saying that I have a bad time when I travel, because I love traveling, Neil, as you probably know. I'm like the travel person. That's why I get people ask me questions about it. But
I had an inkling of it, shall we say?
Yeah, you know. But what was great about this time, you know, and I said this in my diary of the startup, you know, chapter, which everyone could all sign up to, which I'm, you know, going to talk about, you know, always plugging about, is it was great to go on this trip and not do anything at all. And what I mean by that is I did take my laptop. I always take my laptop everywhere, you know, when I'm traveling. And if you look at my usage, I'm typically a high usage person, because, you know, I'm developing things, doing research. So I'm a high user. It probably went down by probably 98%, because I only opens it in the morning. It might be a question like, what's the weather going to be like in Ibiza today? I know you're probably laughing, thinking the time of year when it's warm most of the time, and I escaped that rain. I don't know if you heard about the floods recently in Ibiza, which occurred recently. Yeah, it was like a flash, you know, sort of flood. But the point I was making, it was so nice not to, you know, to switch off and not be, you know, in that mode all the time, the work mode. And it was me having to check into myself and ask myself a question. I'm on holiday. If I don't do certain thing, is the world, you know, is things gonna, you know, go wrong? And
did you find that easy to do?
Usually I would find it a bit of a struggle, because I've done it before when I've even worked on projects abroad, and then I'm answering questions going back to the UK, or even being interviewed, you know, by, you know, a journalist, for example. I'm thinking about a time when I was in Amsterdam. So sometimes I have found it a bit hard, but I think it's all to do with me becoming more stricter in terms of my boundaries. And I'm in that sort of like phase of my life when I want to slow down, and I've seen effects of what happens when you get stressed. So it's happened to me where I've, you know, stress has, you know, manifested in, you know, like ill health for me. So that's why, and like that's why I want to like warn people, you know, not to let, you know, work get to you in a certain way that affects your own physical being, because your mind and your body is so connected. And with me, I'm very in tune with it. And one of my things, you know, which I'm happy to discuss, because at the end of the day, you know, we're just humans out there, is that I'm always more aware these days in terms of managing my stress levels, because the thing about stress is good because we need it in terms of survival, you know, in terms of how we are made up, you know, going back to times in flight and fleet where we might be running from the lion, or we might.
But fight or flight was meant to be used for short bursts only.
Yeah, short purpose.
And we needed that burst of cortisol if the lion was chasing us. But the problem is now, and then in running away from the lion, it will be worked out the body. But now we get stretched with the boss or the kids, and you can't run away. So it's got nowhere to go. Then it builds up, and then the problems start. That's how I understood it.
Yes, that's true, Neil. You're correct what you're saying. That's true. So I think what's happened is people got into a habit. And when you think about it, life has changed so much. So if I think about when I was a child, and, you know, I hear these reports and researches, we got like, yes, life is easy in some ways. So we don't have to run to go and hunt our food. So I've got a friend whose grandfather, so he's from Finland, used to, on his way home from work, maybe we'll hunt maybe a deer, which would be used, because I think that's like a food, you know, a food thing to do in Finland, where they have deer meat they do eat with potatoes. You know, for the listeners, if you're wondering, you know where I'm going, you know how I came up with this, it's true that in terms of that's the sort of food they eat. But the point I'm making is the grandfather would hunt for food on his way back from home. So lifestyle's a bit different, you know. Just
a tad. It's a bit different from popping into Tesco's.
Yeah, for Tesco. So you don't have to run to go and hunt your food. I could just go and pick up salmon.
Not generally, I find. No, not generally.
Yeah. You could just. So what I'm trying to say is, we live more in an age of convenience.
It's come with the dark side, though. It's come with the downside, that it hasn't made everything better. We've made things more efficient.
Yes,
but it's just in a sense. But I think the problem is everything's sped up.
Yes,
including us, and that constant nose against the grindstone, going at speed all the time, and not having a time for downtime. It's not good for us. It really isn't.
Yes,
that's why. And you said the word. You said boundaries. You've got personal boundaries, which we all need, of course, and we all need to know what our yes is and what our no is, and you know, and when we find that sweet spot, that's when we've got much more, paradoxically perhaps, to contribute to the world around us, like you have with your brilliant invention, which is available on your website, I take it.
Yes, it is. It is available. So I've got a special tab. Just click Reinvention Navigator, and it takes you to the page, talks about it. And soon I'm going to be popping up some more videos showing, you know, it in progress, so people get a real feel in terms of how it works. So the whole idea is to have like that companion next to you. So it doesn't have to be about career. It could be even about saying, I want to downsize, or I want to relocate, because different changes could be, for example, like you're in a long-term relationship and it ended. Let's say, for example, you're married to someone, and then, you know, unexpectedly the relationship ends for whatever reason. And then you're in a life pivot, aren't you? That's like a change you're going through. And of course, there'll be a mental element there, and where you have to take some time out, be gentle to yourself, a theme which we're talking about today, Neil, you know, like be easy on ourselves. And tips in terms of boundaries, I always say to people in terms of self-care is, you know, just take things step. Don't feel like you need to rush, because yes, I know how it's like with mobile phones. You get alerts all the time where people might want you to respond, but it's okay not to respond, or respond later, because it's happened.
Make haste slowly is a nice phrase.
Yeah, because it's happened to me, Neil, where I've had a message from someone and then they get upset if I don't respond within 30 minutes. And I'm thinking
I have people that get upset if I don't respond in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I have to say to people, look, there's so many channels of communication, and it's not personal, but I've got email, I've got Instagram, there's Facebook Messenger, the odd carrier pigeon here and there. I can't be on all the time. And it's really not personal, but people take it very personally. I need an answer now.
It's true. And the thing is, you don't want to rush your response. So, for example, with me, someone might ask me a question: can you attend X event next week? So this happened to me on Sunday night. Someone asked if I wanted to see this preview of this film happening in London with this guy who she interviewed on their Sunday show, one of my friends. And then, you can't sometimes it might just be in case you want to check your availability, because I don't want to say yes to something and then say, sorry, I can't. So, there's always a reason why people don't respond. And I think it's a case about how sometimes people take things personally too as well. That's another point.
People take things very, very personally if you don't respond to it. And it really isn't. I've had to have some really serious conversations with people and say, look, I'm not being rude and it's not personal, but this isn't going to change. Sorry. Yes. Take me or leave me. So they left. No. Anyway, Sophia, it's been lovely to see you again.
Yes.
And good luck with everything that you do. Keep in touch. Pop back on sometime.
Yes, I will.
Let us know how the reinvention tool, the AI reinvention I've forgotten the name of it. Sorry.
Navigator. Don't worry, it's happened to me sometimes. I always remember the reinvention part. Everyone.
AI Reinvention Navigator.
Yeah, just call it a Reinvention Navigator, because then it's like helping you to navigate, and reinvention is to do with all the different sorts of changes we have. So
yes, indeed.
This, I know this will help many people, and helping them to get ideas too as well, because sometimes we brainstorm and then someone like a neutral person comes in and goes, how about this? So it's really cool.
Yes. I think it's a great tool, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. So thank you for bringing it to the world, and good luck with everything. Keep in touch, and hopefully we'll see you again. And I'll send you the footage of this if you want to use it for any shameless marketing purposes. You're very welcome.
Yes, yeah. I love bragging and doing shameless marketing. You have to, don't you, these days, to put yourself out there? Because we're in that world.
I would be offended if you didn't.
Oh, okay. I don't want to offend you.
Brag away. Brag from the rooftops. So, Sophia, it's been lovely talking to you again. Thank you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be on the show.
Lovely to have you back. Good afternoon. SophiaWorld.com if you'd like to check that out. I think Russ said he wasn't going to be here Friday, but Phil will. King of the Cravat, and Jonathan Baz, theatre critic, and Chantal Ricard, the screen queen, on our showbizy focused midday show on Friday. Thanks for tuning in. I hope it's been interesting. If you're watching on the replay and you got some valuable information, I mean, we kind of packaged it all up tonight, sorting out the problems today, sorting out the problems with the kids, and then reinventing yourself at the same time. We deliver on the midday show. We deliver. And if you're watching it on replay or even live and it's helped you in some way, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm Neil Long. A very good afternoon to you. And now I'm going to go and have lunch. Take care. Good afternoon.